The desert was wide and silent, stretching far under the burning sun. Yellow sand moved with the wind, forming new shapes every hour. In the middle of this endless land walked a small group of explorers. They had come from far away, guided only by old maps and whispers of a hidden tomb that no one had seen for thousands of years. Their leader was a man named Rami. He was calm, patient, and never gave up easily. He believed the desert still held secrets that could change how people saw the past. His team trusted him, even when the sun felt heavy and the sand seemed never-ending. With him were Tariq, a quiet man who noticed things others often missed, and 3 more explorers who carried tools and supplies. For many days they walked across the sand, searching for a sign. Some days they found nothing but wind and silence. But on the 7th morning, Tariq stopped and called to Rami. He had seen something unusual near a rocky hill. Together they climbed the slope and brushed away the sand with their hands. Under the dust they found a stone doorway half buried in the earth. The doorway was carved with symbols of the old kingdom. They were not like normal tomb signs that spoke of treasure or death. These signs looked more like stars and flowing rivers. Rami ran his hand across them and felt the stone was strangely smooth, as if time had not touched it. His heart began to beat faster. The team worked for hours, clearing sand from the entrance. When at last the doorway opened, a rush of cool air came out, carrying the scent of stone that had been sealed for centuries. They lit their lamps and stepped inside. The passage was narrow, with walls carved from golden stone. The deeper they went, the more the walls began to shine. At first, the explorers thought it was only the glow of their lamps, but after some steps they saw that the stone itself reflected light like polished metal. It was as if the walls wanted to glow on their own. Rami whispered to the others that this was no ordinary tomb. The walls were not painted, and there were no usual carvings of gods or kings. Instead, there were flowing shapes that looked like waves of light. The explorers moved carefully, their footsteps echoing in the silence. At the end of the passage, they entered a wide chamber. It was larger than any of them expected. The roof was high, supported by smooth columns. In the middle of the chamber stood something none of them had ever seen before, a tall mirror made of pure gold. The mirror reached almost to the ceiling. Its frame was carved with more strange symbols, and its surface was so bright that it looked new. Not a single mark of age touched it. The explorers stood in silence, staring at the shining surface. When Rami stepped closer, he noticed something strange. The mirror did not reflect the chamber as it should. It did not show the explorers, their lamps, or the columns. Instead, it showed only deep darkness filled with points of light like the night sky. He felt as if he were looking into space itself. Tariq also stepped near and studied the mirror. He said in a quiet voice that it was not a mirror at all. It was something else, something that reflected beyond their world. The others laughed nervously, unsure if he was joking. But then they saw what Rami saw, and their laughter faded into silence. The chamber grew heavy with mystery. No one spoke for a long time. Each explorer felt as if the golden surface was watching them, waiting for them to understand its purpose. Rami's hand shook as he reached out, almost touching the mirror, but then he stopped. Something inside him whispered that it was not time yet. The explorers placed their lamps around the chamber and studied the walls. The walls were covered with more golden carvings. Some looked like stars, others like rivers of light, and some even looked like men standing before glowing doors. The images seemed to tell a story, but the meaning was hidden. Tariq suggested that the Pharaoh who built this tomb was not seeking to guard treasures of gold or jewels. Instead, he believed the Pharaoh was guarding this strange mirror. Perhaps the ruler saw it as a bridge to the afterlife. Perhaps he thought it was a path to another place beyond life. The others listened, their faces filled with both fear and wonder. None of them had ever seen such a thing. Rami felt a pull in his heart, stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. He knew this discovery was more important than gold. It was a secret that had waited for them through thousands of years. As they rested, the golden surface seemed to glow brighter, as if alive. Shadows from their lamps moved across the chamber, but the mirror remained still and clear. Rami felt that the journey had only just begun. He looked at his team and knew they were standing before something far greater than they could yet understand. The desert outside was silent, hiding the tomb once again under its endless sands. But inside the chamber, a golden mirror stood tall, waiting to reveal what it had been guarding for ages. The explorers spent the night inside the wide chamber, sitting close to their lamps. The golden mirror stood tall in the middle, shining even when the lamps grew dim. It gave off a soft glow of its own, like a moon hidden deep underground. Rami and his team tried to rest, but none of them could sleep fully. Each time their eyes closed, they felt the mirror pulling at their thoughts, as if it wanted them to look again. When the morning sun rose above the desert, its light slipped faintly into the chamber through cracks in the stone. Even then, the mirror shone brighter than any sunlight. Rami gathered his team and told them they must study it carefully. He warned them not to touch it yet, for they did not know what it could do. One by one, the explorers walked before the mirror. At first, they expected to see their own faces, but the mirror refused to show them. Instead, it showed a wide sky filled with countless stars. Some stars shone brighter than others, moving slowly as if alive. It was not like looking at a picture. It was deeper, as if one could step forward and walk into that sky. Tariq leaned closer and gasped. He said he could see shapes between the stars, shapes of towers and cities floating in the dark. The others gathered around him, and together they saw it too. There were structures of light rising high, shaped like pyramids but not made of stone. They were made of pure shining energy. The sight filled their hearts with awe and fear at the same time. Rami felt his chest tighten. He realized this was not a tomb of death. This was a doorway to something beyond their world. He wondered if the Pharaoh who built this place had seen the same vision. Perhaps long ago the Pharaoh had stood here, gazing into the golden surface, believing he was looking at the afterlife. As the explorers stared, the vision inside the mirror began to move. The stars shifted and the golden city became clearer. They could see wide fields glowing like rivers of light and figures moving across them. The figures were tall and graceful, shaped like humans but brighter, as if their skin itself was made of sunlight. These beings did not walk on the ground. They glided smoothly above it as if carried by invisible waves. The explorers whispered to one another. They wondered if these were spirits or perhaps another kind of life from far away. The golden beings seemed aware of the explorers, for some of them paused and raised their shining arms in a gentle greeting. Tariq felt his heart tremble. He whispered that maybe this was the place the Pharaoh had called the afterlife. Not a land of shadows, but a real world beyond the stars. He thought the Pharaoh might have believed that the mirror was a bridge to join these beings after death. Rami placed a hand on Tariq's shoulder. He told the group that whether it was the afterlife or another world, they must not let fear blind them. They were standing before something rare, something that belonged to all of humanity. They had been chosen by chance or by fate to witness it first. The others nodded, though their eyes stayed fixed on the glowing beings. One of the explorers, a young man named Zahir, stepped closer than the rest. His reflection did not appear on the golden surface. Instead, his shape was replaced by waves of shining light. The golden being seemed to turn toward him. Zahir quickly stepped back, his breath shaking. He said he felt as if the beings had looked directly at him. The chamber grew quiet again. The explorers no longer doubted the mirror's power. It was not simply showing images. It was alive, aware, and waiting. Soon, Tariq noticed patterns moving across the mirror's frame. The carved symbols they had seen earlier now glowed softly. They were not just decoration. They seemed to shift and flow like water, as if forming words. The team gathered close, trying to understand. Rami raised his lamp to shine better on the carvings. As the light touched the golden frame, a strange voice entered their minds. It was not a loud voice nor spoken in their language, but each of them felt they understood its meaning. The voice was slow, calm, and kind. It told them that this mirror was a gate. It connected their world to another, just as the Pharaoh had once dreamed. The explorers looked at one another with wide eyes. None of them had moved their lips, yet all had heard the same message. The voice spoke again, saying the mirror was placed here not to frighten but to guide. It had waited through time for those who dared to enter and learn. Tariq shivered, though not from fear. He said that the Pharaoh had not been a ruler seeking gold, but a man seeking knowledge. The mirror was his true treasure. Rami felt his heart grow heavier with wonder. He told the group they must stay strong, for this was only the beginning. The mirror had spoken, and that meant it held more to show. But they must be patient, for rushing could bring danger. The team agreed to rest again and keep watch over the mirror. Though they tried to sit calmly, their eyes always returned to the shining surface. The golden beings, the glowing fields, the endless stars, all of it waited just beyond the glass. And somewhere deep inside the chamber, hidden among the golden walls, the mirror seemed to breathe. The explorers stayed close to the golden mirror. Its soft glow filled the chamber like a quiet fire. They tried to study the carvings on the walls, but their eyes always returned to the shining surface. It was as if the mirror itself wanted their attention. Rami stood in front of the frame. The strange symbols that had begun to glow earlier were moving again. They curved, shifted, and formed new shapes as if alive. He held up his lamp to see more clearly, but before he could speak, the golden mirror brightened on its own. The explorers shielded their eyes, but the light was not harsh. It was warm, gentle, and filled the chamber like morning sunlight. Then a voice touched their minds again. It did not come from the air or from one another. It came from the mirror itself. The voice spoke in slow tones. Though the language was old, every explorer understood its meaning in their own heart. It said, "This is the gate of knowing. This is the path the Pharaoh once touched. Do not fear. You are chosen to see." The explorers looked at one another with wide eyes. None of them had moved their lips, yet all of them heard the same words. Tariq whispered that it was speaking through thought, not sound. The mirror dimmed a little, then showed new images. The glowing city they had seen before returned, but this time it was clearer. They could see tall spires of gold rising high, rivers of light flowing between them, and beings of pure radiance moving gently above the ground. The beings turned their shining faces toward the explorers and once again raised their arms in greeting. Rami felt his chest grow heavy. He understood that this was no dream. The Pharaoh had built this tomb not to hold his body, but to protect this mirror. Perhaps the Pharaoh had believed this was the afterlife, but Rami began to wonder if it was something even greater. Then the voice spoke again. It said, "The Pharaoh came to us in dreams. He saw our city and wished to walk here after his time. He made this mirror so the path would remain open. But the path is not only for him, it is for all who come in honesty." The words echoed in their hearts. The explorers fell into silence. Zahir, the youngest among them, asked in a trembling voice if this meant the Pharaoh had truly spoken with these beings. The others could not answer, but Rami placed a hand on the young man's shoulder and said they must listen more before making judgment. The mirror continued to glow, and the frame grew warmer under the light. New symbols appeared along the sides, forming circles that spun slowly like stars. Tariq pointed at them, saying they looked like maps. Some circles held shapes of suns and moons, while others showed rivers and mountains. The explorers leaned closer, and suddenly the mirror showed images of Earth itself. They saw a desert stretching wide, a river winding through green lands, and mountains rising in the distance. It was their world, but seen from high above, as if from the sky. The team gasped in wonder. Rami felt his breath catch. The mirror was showing them that the golden beings knew their world. They had looked upon Earth long ago, perhaps even before the Pharaoh. The voice returned. It said, "You stand between two worlds. One is the place of your birth. The other is the place of our light. The Pharaoh called it the afterlife, but it is more than that. It is life beyond life. It is the city of stars." The chamber felt alive with the soundless words. Zahir stepped forward, his eyes wide, and asked softly if they could enter this city. The voice paused for a long moment before answering. "The path will open to those who are ready. The path will test the heart. The path will show truth." The explorers grew quiet again. None of them understood what the test would be, but all of them felt its weight. Rami told his team they must prepare themselves. He reminded them that fear would only blind them. If the Pharaoh had once walked this path in dreams, then maybe they too could learn its truth. He believed the mirror was waiting for them to prove something. The group sat together near the base of the columns, speaking in whispers. Some felt excitement, others felt doubt, but all agreed they could not turn away now. The mirror was not just a discovery of history. It was a bridge that could change everything humans knew. As they rested, the chamber grew quieter, and the golden glow softened like a calm evening sky. Yet the explorers could still feel the presence of the voice watching them with patience. Tariq looked at Rami and said he felt that the mirror was not showing all at once. It was giving them pieces one by one, to see if they could accept the truth. Rami nodded. He said the mirror was wise, not only powerful. It wanted them to move step by step, just as the Pharaoh had done. Before the lamps grew dim, the voice spoke one final time. "Tomorrow you will see more. The gate will open a path of light, You must walk it with honesty. If you carry truth, you will not fall." The explorers looked at one another. Their hearts beat fast, filled with both hope and fear. They knew the next day would bring something greater, something that could change their lives forever. The golden mirror stood tall and silent once again, but its glow did not fade. It waited for them, like a guardian of secrets that had slept through the ages. The night inside the chamber felt long. The explorers tried to rest, but sleep came only in small moments. Each time they closed their eyes, they saw the golden city glowing in their minds. They felt the voice of the mirror still close, as if it was waiting for the morning. When the first light of day touched the desert above, the chamber began to glow more strongly. The golden walls reflected a soft light, though no sunbeam reached that deep. Rami stood and called his team together. He reminded them of the voice's promise. The mirror would open a path of light, but only if they carried truth in their hearts. The explorers gathered around the tall mirror. Its surface was calm yet alive. Slowly, the golden frame brightened. The carvings that looked like rivers of stars began to flow, spinning gently. Then the mirror itself grew clear, and once again the golden city appeared. But this time it was not far. The surface stretched deep, almost like an open window. The explorers saw wide fields of glowing light spreading as far as the eye could see. They saw tall pyramids made of shining energy, brighter than any stone. They saw rivers flowing, but not of water. These rivers glowed with golden fire, gentle and calm. The golden beings moved above the ground in graceful silence. The explorers stood in awe. Their lamps flickered, but the chamber did not grow dark. The light of the mirror filled the space like daylight. Zahir whispered that it was like standing before another world, so close that one could step into it. The golden beings turned toward the explorers. Their faces were simple, glowing like the sun behind a cloud. They raised their arms in welcome. Though they made no sound, the explorers felt warmth in their hearts, as if the beings were greeting them kindly. Tariq held his breath and said these were not shadows of the dead. These were people of light, living in a place beyond the stars. Perhaps the Pharaoh had seen them in his dreams and believed it was the afterlife. But now it seemed more real, a world beside their own. As they watched, one of the beings glided closer to the mirror. Its golden shape grew larger and its light filled the chamber. The explorers stepped back, their hearts racing. The being stopped just before the edge of the mirror, then lifted both hands. The mirror rippled like water. Rami felt the air change. A soft wind moved through the chamber, though no door was open. The mirror no longer seemed solid. Its surface waved like a quiet pond, yet it did not break. Rami realized this was the path of light the voice had promised. He looked at his team. Fear and wonder mixed on their faces. Zahir's eyes shone with longing. Tariq stood still, his mind deep in thought. The others held their breath, waiting for Rami to speak. Rami raised his hand and said they must be patient. The voice had said only those who carried truth could walk the path. To rush forward would be unwise. They had to listen, to understand, and to prepare their hearts. The mirror rippled again, and the voice returned, softer than before. This is the city of light. It is not the end. It is not death. It is life beyond your sky. The Pharaoh dreamed of it, and you now stand at its gate. Step only with truth, and you will see. The explorers bowed their heads. They felt both unworthy and honored. For a long time, none spoke. The chamber was filled only with the golden glow. At last, Tariq said that maybe this was why the Pharaoh had sealed the tomb so deeply. He had wanted to protect the mirror until the right moment. He had left it for those who would come after, not to take treasure, but to find knowledge. Rami agreed. He said the Pharaoh must have believed that one day humans would be ready to understand this gate. Perhaps the Pharaoh himself had seen only dreams, but he left behind the hope that others would go further. The explorers felt a bond grow between them and the golden beings. Though they had spoken no words, they understood one another. The beings did not threaten or command. They only welcomed, as if waiting for humans to take the step when ready. Zahir stepped closer, his eyes filled with wonder. He stretched his hand toward the mirror. The surface rippled beneath his touch, yet it did not pull him in. Instead, light wrapped softly around his fingers, warm like sunlight. Zahir smiled and said he felt peace, as if the being beyond the mirror was greeting him. Rami touched his shoulder and gently drew him back. He said they must all decide together. This path was not for one man alone, but for the whole of humanity. The chamber grew still again. The explorers sat together, their eyes never leaving the mirror. They knew now that this was no vision. The city of light was real, waiting just beyond their reach. As the day passed, the mirror glowed steady and calm. The golden beings did not leave. They stood on the other side, watching with patient eyes like guardians waiting for children to take their first step. When evening came, the explorers lit their lamps again. Yet the chamber did not darken, for the mirror shone like a second sun. The voice did not return, but its meaning remained clear in their hearts. They had seen the other side. The gate was open. The choice was now theirs. The explorers sat close to the golden mirror, speaking in low voices. The city of light still shone within the surface, its towers and rivers glowing like a dream made real. The golden beings remained visible, calm and patient, waiting on the other side. Rami watched the mirror carefully. He knew this was no simple discovery. The voice had warned them about a path and a test. If they were to step forward, they would need more than courage. They would need truth. As the chamber grew quiet, the mirror stirred once again. Its surface rippled gently like water touched by wind. The voice returned, soft but clear inside their thoughts. The gate is open, but you must show your hearts. The light accepts only truth. Step forward one by one and see yourselves as you are. The explorers looked at one another with unease. None of them knew what the test would show. Yet Rami stood first. He told his team that as leader it was right for him to begin. He walked slowly to the golden surface and placed his hand against it. The mirror glowed brighter. Instead of showing the city of light, it now showed Rami himself. But it was not a simple reflection. It was another Rami, standing inside the mirror with eyes filled with strength and fear alike. The voice spoke again. Do you know your truth? Rami's reflection began to change. It showed him leading his team through the desert, but then it showed him filled with doubt, afraid of failing them. His heart grew heavy, for he knew it was true. He often feared that he was not strong enough, that he might lead them into danger. The voice said, to walk the path, you must accept your truth, not hide it. Only those who face themselves may pass. Rami closed his eyes. He admitted in his heart that he did carry fear, but he also carried hope. He cared for his team more than his own pride. When he opened his eyes again, the reflection smiled softly. The golden surface rippled and returned to calm. The voice said, you carry fear, but you do not hide it. You are honest. You may stand. Rami stepped back, his breath deep. His team looked at him with respect, for they had seen his trial. Next, Tariq walked forward. He touched the golden surface, and the mirror showed his reflection. It was Tariq standing alone in shadows, watching from the edge while others took the lead. The voice said, you doubt your worth. You believe your place is small? Do you know your truth? Tariq's hands trembled. It was true. He often thought of himself as only a quiet man, one who noticed details but never led. He felt that others were stronger, braver, more important. Yet he also knew that his careful eyes had found the doorway to the tomb, and his thoughts had guided them more than once. He whispered to himself that even a quiet man had value. Even one who stood in shadows could hold light. As he spoke this truth, the reflection in the mirror straightened, no longer hidden. The voice said, you doubt, but you also see. You are honest. You may stand. Tariq stepped back, his face calm, though his eyes shone with new strength. Then it was Zahir's turn. The youngest explorer placed his hand on the mirror, and his reflection appeared. It showed him rushing forward with wide eyes, eager to touch the unknown, careless of danger. The voice said, you are filled with longing. You chase wonder without pause. Do you know your truth? Zahir lowered his head. He knew his heart raced faster than his mind. His eagerness often made him step too quickly. Yet he admitted he did not wish to harm. He only wished to see, to learn, to feel the mysteries of the world. The voice said, your longing is strong, but you do not hide it. You are honest. You may stand. Zahir stepped back, his face bright with relief. One by one, the other explorers came forward. Each saw a reflection of themselves, showing their secret fears and quiet hopes. Some feared weakness, others feared being forgotten, but each one faced their truth and accepted it. None tried to hide. When all had taken the test, the mirror grew brighter than before. The city of light returned, glowing stronger, as if the golden beings were pleased. The voice filled the chamber once more. You have shown truth. The gate welcomes you. Step forward and you will see more. The explorers stood together in silence. Their hearts were still heavy from the visions, yet lighter from honesty. They now understood what the Pharaoh had meant. The afterlife was not only a place. It was a test of the heart, a journey of truth. Rami looked at his team with pride. He told them they had faced themselves and had not turned away. Whatever lay ahead, they would walk it together. The mirror rippled again, shining like a river of gold. The golden beings waited on the other side, their arms still raised in welcome. The chamber felt alive, filled with light and hope. The explorers knew the time had come. The gate was ready. Their next step would decide everything. The chamber was filled with quiet light from the golden mirror. The explorers had passed the test of truth, and now the path beyond the mirror shimmered like liquid gold. Yet they hesitated. Rami felt that before stepping further, they must understand why the Pharaoh had built this tomb. Tariq moved toward a corner of the chamber and noticed a small stone pedestal, partly hidden by shadows. On it lay a set of old scrolls wrapped carefully in cloth. Dust covered them, but the explorers handled them with care. When Rami unrolled the first scroll, the golden light of the mirror reflected softly on the writings. The symbols were ancient, written in a language only a few scholars could understand. But somehow reading them felt natural. The words spoke clearly in the minds of the explorers, as if the Pharaoh's thoughts had waited for them to arrive. The Pharaoh wrote that he had built the mirror not for gold or power. He had built it to hold a secret of life beyond their world. He called it the Gate of Knowing. The scrolls explained that the afterlife was not only a dream of the dead, but a place of light and learning, a city of energy beyond the stars. Rami felt a thrill in his chest. The Pharaoh had known something no one else had. He had seen a world beyond Earth and had left the mirror as a bridge. The scrolls continued. The Pharaoh spoke of beings who lived in the city of light. He called them guides, not rulers. They had visited humans long ago, teaching knowledge and wisdom to those ready to listen. The Pharaoh had written that the mirror could open the path for those who were honest and brave, but only if they faced their own hearts first. Tariq whispered that this explained the test. The mirror had not only shown their reflections, but also measured their courage and truth. The Pharaoh had left the tomb for future humans who could walk the path with honesty. Rami nodded. He realized that humans had been chosen long ago. They were not rulers of the Golden City, but they had the potential to connect with it. The Pharaoh had hoped that one day, humans would understand this secret and carry knowledge back to Earth. Zahir, his eyes wide with wonder, asked if the Pharaoh had ever stepped through the mirror himself. The others looked at the scrolls again. The writing hinted that the Pharaoh had seen visions and may have walked the path in dreams. He had left the mirror as a promise for those who came after, a guide for humanity to follow when ready. Rami felt the weight of responsibility. They were the first humans in centuries to stand before the mirror. They had passed the test. Now they had to decide what to do next. The voice of the mirror returned, soft and patient. You have seen the Pharaoh's truth. You understand the secret of the mirror. The path is open. Choose wisely, for the choice belongs to those who carry knowledge. The golden beings on the other side seemed closer now, their light warmer, almost inviting. The city of energy glowed brighter. Rivers of light moved gently, and the spires reached higher than before. The explorers could feel the pull of the city, not as a command but as a gentle call. Rami stepped closer and spoke to his team. He said the Pharaoh had trusted humanity to decide. They could step forward and explore the Golden City, learning its secrets firsthand. Or they could return to Earth with the knowledge they had gained, sharing hope for the future. The team considered carefully. Each of them thought of their families, their homes, and the people who would never see this chamber. They also thought of the Pharaoh who had dreamed of this city and left a bridge for them to cross. Tariq said softly that the Golden City was beautiful, but it might not belong to them yet. They had been chosen to carry knowledge, not to take the place of the Pharaoh or the beings of light. Rami nodded in agreement. He felt the same. The mirror was not a treasure to be taken, but a promise to be shared. Zahir looked at the golden surface and smiled. He said that even though they would not walk fully into the city, they had seen it. They had passed the test and learned the Pharaoh's secret. That was enough for now. Rami placed a hand on the mirror's surface. He felt warmth, almost like the heart of the Golden City itself. The voice spoke one last time. You have chosen wisely. Carry knowledge with honesty. Share hope with your world. The Pharaoh's dream lives in those who see and understand. The explorers stepped back, their hearts full of wonder and responsibility. The chamber felt quieter now, though the golden mirror still glowed softly. The Pharaoh's secret had been revealed, and humanity had been entrusted with it once more. They looked at one another, understanding that the journey was not over. The golden city waited, but so did Earth. The mirror had shown them life beyond their world, and now it was their task to carry its promise forward. As the desert wind whispered outside, the explorers prepared to leave the tomb. They knew they would never forget what they had seen. The Pharaoh had left them a gift beyond gold, a vision of life and light, and the chance to walk the path of knowing with honesty and courage. The golden mirror shimmered one last time as they turned to the entrance, holding the secret of the Pharaoh close in their hearts. The explorers stood together in the golden chamber, their hearts full of wonder. The mirror still shone softly, reflecting the city of light beyond. The golden beings moved gently in the distance, waiting patiently. The Pharaoh's secret had been revealed, and the path of light stretched before them. Rami looked at his team and said that the mirror had offered them a choice. They could step forward into the golden city, leaving Earth behind, or return home with the knowledge they had gained. Each path carried its own meaning, and the decision was not easy. Tariq was the first to speak. He said that the golden city was beautiful and full of wisdom, but humans had a duty to their own world. The Pharaoh had left the mirror not to take them away, but to guide them and show that knowledge could be shared. They could carry hope and inspiration to those who had never seen such light. Zahir, though younger, understood this as well. He had longed to touch the city and learn its secrets, yet he realized that returning to Earth with what they had seen would honor the Pharaoh's vision. He said that sharing the story could one day prepare others to step forward when the time was right. Rami nodded. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. They had passed the golden test and understood the Pharaoh's secret. Now it was their choice to use this knowledge wisely. Slowly, one by one, they turned away from the mirror. They touched the golden frame gently as if to say goodbye for now. The mirror rippled slightly beneath their hands, warm and alive, but it did not pull them in. The golden city remained on the other side, still glowing and welcoming, yet patient. As they stepped back, the voice spoke one last time, soft and clear in their minds. You have chosen with honesty. You carry knowledge and you carry hope. Your world will grow from this light. The Pharaoh's dream lives in those who see and share. The explorers bowed their heads in respect. Though they had not crossed fully into the golden city, they felt a deep connection to it. They understood that true courage was not only in stepping into a new world, but also in carrying what was learned to help others. The chamber seemed to sigh in quiet approval. The golden mirror shimmered, showing the city once more, but the explorers' reflections returned to the surface. Each of them saw themselves clearly, not only as individuals, but as part of a greater story that stretched across time. Rami spoke softly, saying that the Pharaoh had trusted humans with something far greater than treasure. They had been given a gift of knowledge and vision. It was a gift to guide humanity, to inspire them to look beyond the ordinary and to see the potential within themselves. Tariq added that the Golden City would always wait, patient and calm. One day, when more humans were ready, the mirror would open again. They had been the first to walk the path with honesty, and their choice would be remembered in the light of the city. The explorers gathered their lamps and scrolls, taking care not to disturb the tomb. The golden walls reflected their movement, warm and gentle, almost like a blessing. As they walked toward the entrance, each felt a quiet pride and peace. They had faced fear, they had faced themselves, and they had chosen wisely. Outside, the desert stretched wide, bathed in the golden light of sunrise. The wind moved across the sands, whispering softly, carrying the secret of the Pharaoh into the world above. Rami looked up at the sky, filled with countless stars, and smiled. The Golden City might be far away, but its vision was now part of humanity's story. Tariq and Zahir walked beside him, feeling the same calm in their hearts. They knew that one day others would follow the path guided by the mirror's light. For now, it was enough to carry hope, to share the story, and to know that humans were capable of truth, courage, and wisdom. As they left the tomb behind, the golden mirror shimmered one last time. Its light reached far into the chamber, warm and alive, waiting patiently for the next travelers. The Pharaoh's dream had been kept safe through the ages, and now it would continue through the hearts of those who had seen it. The explorers walked into the desert, their steps slow and thoughtful. They felt the bond of the Pharaoh, the mirror, and the Golden City. Though they had not crossed fully into the afterlife, they knew they carried its promise. One day humanity would rise to meet the light, guided by honesty, courage, and the wisdom of those who dared to see. And as the sun climbed higher, the desert seemed to glow a little brighter. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Golden City waited, patient and welcoming, for those who were ready to walk its path. The story of the Pharaoh's mirror was complete for now, but its promise would live forever in the hearts of those who dared to believe.